Written the Palmer Valley Healthcare District regular meeting into order. Rosie, if you could please give us a roll call.
Director Gallagher.
Here.
Director Sebastian.
Here.
Director Cox. Here. Director Pimentel.
Here.
Chair Vivian.
Here. So I'm going to jump right into any closed session report. We have no closed session to report from. Any agenda modification consideration from staff for this agenda? No. Seeing none, we'll move on to public comment on matters not on this agenda. So any raised hands, Rosie?
No line.
Anybody wishing to speak on any matters not on this agenda? Seeing none, I will go to comments from our board members. All right. We'll move on to the consent agenda. We have 6 items on the consent agenda. And Rosie, if you could read them off for us.
Yes, the first item is the minutes approval of April 24th, 2024. The second item is correspondence. The third item is the financial officer monthly financial performance updates. The fourth is the 2023 Pajaro Valley Healthcare District Consolidated Provider Living Fund audit engagement. The fifth is the Pajaro Valley Healthcare Investment Policy. And the sixth is the Pajaro Valley Healthcare District election of directors.
Any questions before we go out for public comment on the consent agenda? No? Okay, Rosie, any raised hands online for this? Anyone wishing to speak on the consent agenda? Okay, seeing that, we'll bring it back for a motion on the consent agenda items.
I'll move to approve.
We'll all jump at the same time. I'll second. Okay.
Director Gallagher.
Yes.
Director Sebastian.
Yes.
Director Cox.
Yes.
Director Pimentel.
Yes.
Chair Vivian.
Yes. Okay, passes unanimously. We'll move on to item number 7, the Pajaro Valley Healthcare District project update. And we have the Watsonville Community Hospital Foundation Executive Director June Ponce. Hi, June.
Good afternoon, Board Chair, Mr. Nunez, board members, and everyone. My name is June Ponce. I'm the Executive Director of Watsonville Community Hospital Foundation. And the purpose of our presentation is to provide you an update of what the foundation is doing to support our local community hospital. Next slide. Just an introduction of who we are and our leadership from the board. So we started because of the, when we first started the acquisition of the hospital, project was established. Once we all rallied, the community rallied together, purchased the operations of the hospital. The foundation, the project then became the foundation in early January of 2023. With that, we elected 5 new board members. We currently have 5 board members. Chavez, who is the president of the foundation board. We have Janet Hine as the secretary, Brent Dunton as the treasurer, Crystal Salcido, Dr. David Claypool, Matt Cobranges, and Andrea Carlos-Billy. The board is currently seeking and doing a thorough search of 3 additional board members that are within the scope of the work that we will be launching in the next couple months. So next slide. So about the foundation. So the hospital currently did a strategic plan. Just last year, the hospital completed the strategic plan. So the hospital foundation, what we did is earlier this year, we had a strategic initial retreat to really look at what the hospital's mission, vision, goals were, and how do we as an institution, as a 501c3, support the work that the hospital is doing. So with that, we modeled the same model as the hospital. And we tried to align because ultimately that's our goal as a foundation, to ensure that we continue financial support and encourage donors and be stewards of our donors, volunteers, and guide them to continue to support our community hospital. Our mission of the foundation, what our board voted and approved, is to amplify the impact of Watsonville Community Hospital through inclusive community philanthropy, innovation, partnership, and connectivity to create sustainable access to healthcare in the Pajaro Valley region. Our vision is to envisioning a vibrant Pajaro Valley where equitable, high-quality healthcare thrives, diverse cultures are celebrated, and a trusted-based philanthropy empowers sustainable investment in community health. Our values are trust, cultivate transparency and respect in all transactions. Gratitude, absolutely acknowledging and appreciating the generosity of donors, volunteers, physicians, and staff. Community engagement, fostering collaborative partnerships and celebrating diverse culture. And forward-thinking, embracing innovation to advocate and explore new opportunities to serve the community. The board is extremely proud of what we've developed, and we really, this is our guiding light, our principle to make sure that everything we do falls in line with our mission, vision, and our values. Next slide. So the foundation's areas of impact, we are still very new, but we are extremely proud of the work that we've done in the partnership within Nourish. Nourish is the first food pantry located inside a hospital in California. It continues to be a success. It's a partnership between Second Harvest Food Bank, the hospital, and the foundation. To date, since we started Nourish, we started in November 2023, we've provided over 31,000 pounds of food to our community. And we provide nourishment to over 1,000 households and over 4,200 individuals. We are extremely proud of our work, and that really is about the patient, but it's also about the community and the health and well-being of their children, children, family, grandparents, anyone who lives within the household, and anyone who has a connection to our hospital. This is what our values, what we stand for as a community, as a foundation in our community. We've also, as part of our commitment to support the sustainability of the hospital, we've engaged in a couple grants, and with our efforts have yielded positive results, granting the hospital over $267,000 for purchases of 3 anesthesia machines for translation services, educational equipment for training, and certainly for Nourish. Also, the foundation played an important role and brought awareness through Measure N. We played an active role in meeting with some of major donors and seeking financial support for the success of Measure N. We are deeply grateful for our donors and supporters who really help pivot the direction of our hospital. Next slide. One of the other components that I'm happy to share is in September, we will be hosting a gala, Twilight Tapestry. It'll be on September 21st from 5:30 to 9:30. The purpose of the event is to absolutely fundraise for the hospital, but really it's a celebration of the work that has been done to date. and the work that will continue to follow in the coming years as we expand our services, improve our services, and really get the message to our community members of the great work that we are all doing to serve all our patients that walk through our doors. So save the date, more information to come, and we are certainly thrilled about this. Next slide. So our goal moving forward as a foundation is to, because we are still a new in infancy stage, we are still establishing essential policies and procedures, similar to what the hospital is doing with policy, advocacy policy. We've been looking at the same investment policies. Ultimately, we are laying the groundwork to ensure that the foundation continues for generations to come. That all takes time, but it's tedious and it's work that needs to happen. Also, we're enhancing our board capacity. We will be having a board strategic retreat after the hospital has their retreat. We will follow up and do one for our foundation to ensure that both mission visions are aligned. And moving forward, of course, we are exploring and seeking pathways through grants, major donors, employee giving campaigns, partnerships, and other areas that will enhance our foundation. And that concludes, next slide, that concludes my presentation. Any questions?
Any questions? Go ahead, Jim.
June, it's a sort of frank question. How much money does the foundation have? And is it restricted funds or unrestricted or?
We are in the middle of completing an audit. And we do have some funds that are restricted, mainly through the acquisition of the hospital. We had a loan through the Packard Foundation.
Yeah.
So some of those funds, one of the key role that I have as a foundation is two important things: to ensure the relationship with those donors who committed to a 3-year pledge. We are blessed that our donors are committed to our hospital. And the other thing is to make those large sum payments. So it's, our foundation is responsible and collecting, and so a large chunk of our funds are restricted. And so that's why we're exploring pathways to assess how we can free up some cash through grants and major donor, relationship building, etc.
Any other questions or comments before we go out for public? No? No. I'll just say, June, just like this district did 2 years ago, you guys are in your infancy and setting up all the policies and procedures that are essential to you guys operating and being sustainable. And so it's really, as you said, tedious work, but it's work that needs to be done, and work that the more people, as you continue to add people to your board, I just keep seeing great people who are great with policy and understand that these things are needed. And so I'm just happy to see your board continue to grow and your foundation to grow. So just great work. Compliments for me. Anything else before we go to public comment?
Nice job.
Rosie, any comments online? Hands raised? Anyone wishing to speak on the foundation? Okay. Thanks, Jude. Appreciate it. Okay, we will now go on to item number 8, and this is the Far Valley Healthcare District Treasurer appointment. Recommendation here is to consider and vote on nominees presented to pass a motion electing a treasurer for the PVHCD board. Not much else to say aside from that. Steve, if you'd like to chime in at all. I do have a person that I'd like to put forward. and appoint to this role. Put it up for a vote, but if there's any public comment, or I'm sorry, any input from the board on.
I'd like to consider for the position.
Okay. So, Marcus, I would like to be considered for the position. Any other public comments, or I'm sorry, any other, comments or questions from the board about the appointment? Okay, Rosie, any hand raised? Anyone wishing to speak on, the treasurer appointment?
I would like. I would like.
Sure.
I just want to point out, that it's an important part of this role was kind of referenced in the investment policy that was passed earlier. So I just wanted to make sure that anybody considering an appointment was kind of familiar with that.
Okay, with that, Marcus,
I'd like to nominate Marcus for treasurer.
do we have a second for that
Second.
nomination?
Second.
Rosie, can we have a roll call?
Yes, Director Gallagher,
Yeah.
Director Francis.
Yes.
Director Cox.
Yes.
Director Pinto,
Yes.
Chair Negus.
Yes.
And I'm sorry, the first was, Method, second was,
Gallagher?
Congratulations.
Thank me.
More work.
I just double checking the bylaws, and we do have in our district bylaws the rules. I know it's already voted, I should have asked for the clause then, but that officers shall not hold the same office for more than 2 consecutive years. Marcus, have you not?
I stopped,
You had thought.
so I restarted my 2 consecutive years.
This was
John.
Sorry,
Yes, this was John Friel's role.
we used that right.
Okay, so with that, we'll come to item number 9, the Pajaro Valley Healthcare District External Partnerships Ad Hoc Committee update. And this is the recommendations to receive and file, and I'll be giving this report to Rosie whenever. All right, so I'll be giving this report. It's, I believe, 12 slides, if I remember correctly, so I'll try to read through this so we can get into a discussion. Rosie, if you could. So, the purpose of the External Partnership Ad Hoc Committee, two real purposes. Number one is to explore potential external partnerships for the benefit of the Pajaro Valley Healthcare District of Watsonville Community Hospital. The second is to institute transparent and efficient policy framework for the district to follow while exploring potential partnerships. Slide, please. So external partnerships, what are they? Real basic terms, they're official agreements with external entities, of course, with Watsonville Community Hospital or the healthcare district to provide services, including and not limited to things like management, so leadership, human resources, anything dealing with financials. There's various other potential agreements within the management spectrum. Also, information technology, and then of course, clinical services. So service line expansion or development. So those are the 3 major ones that you see within districts partnering for external partnerships. Rosie, slide please. Just want to recenter us back into the strategic priorities that came out of our strategic planning process throughout this while we were setting up the district, and highlight the 3 tenets, one coming from the district focus and the other 2 coming from the hospital focus, as to why we have decided to seek external partnerships that could benefit Watsonville Community Hospital, the healthcare district, and the community as a whole. So the first one being a community health and advocacy, that part of the district focus. So expanding community partnerships, serving as a trusted partner and advocate, and addressing health equity and social determinants of health within our community. The 2 in the hospital focus that this aligns with is our clinical services and access, so expanding Watsonville Community Hospital clinical programs and partnerships to deliver clinical services and sustainable, equitable access in our community. And the third one is the financially sustainable services, excuse me. That's to ensure effective operations of financial sustainability, to achieve our missions and ensure services for generations to come. Aside from those three, the overall end goal of having external partnerships with Watsonville Community Hospital and the district kind of fall into all of our focuses here with our strategic planning. But these three, as I was going through this process, and as we have been going through this process, stood out to me as ones that could have a direct impact from an external partnership. Next slide, please. So where did this start and where are we? So this is the timeline of the external partnership ad hoc committee at a glance. There's one thing on here that is that is not on here that I wanted to highlight, and that is that first week of March, which is a real momentous day for the hospital and for the district, and that's the passing of Measure N. And so that kind of is, as a lot of our government partners have said, we have had hurdle after hurdle after hurdle in order to just get here and be in the position that we are. And so the previous hurdle that is not on this timeline here was getting the bond measure passed. And there are several people in this room that were essential to passing that bond measure and getting us to this point where we can start to think about having external partnerships and how do we expand our service lines, how do we continue to guide the hospital into a sustainable operation. So on March 27, 2024, the board voted to create the External Partnership Ad Hoc Committee. We appointed myself and Dr. Gallagher as the district representatives. Throughout the month of April, as Dr. Gallagher can attest to, we had several meetings to discuss partnerships just in general, what they look like, what they any sort of examples that might carry over from other districts to our district, the process of setting up a potential partnership, what the regulations look like, what the timing would look like, the goals of having a potential external partnership, and then what the structure of one might look like that would fit both our needs and then also the real individual wants of this district as well too in this community. So May 15th, the ad hoc committee, we agreed to move forward and with an RFP process. And we then decided to draft our guiding principles with the help of our consultant. And we've been working on that, on the guiding principles over the last few weeks. Where we're at today is bringing through the ad hoc committee update is the guiding principles to the board and to the general public and our partners throughout the community and the region for feedback to see that both for transparency reasons and then also to see that we're aligned with the direction of the hospital and the potential external partnerships. The June 26, 2024 meeting, the ad hoc committee, we hope to bring forth a complete and robust comprehensive RFP for board approval and public distribution thereafter. Rosie? All right. I think this is there. We go. So guiding principles, why do we need them? Three real simple kind of layman's term to provide direction to the ad hoc committee members for the ongoing work. And so, Dr. Gallagher and I are the board representatives on the ad hoc committee. We work with a consultant and then also from time to time as well too with our administration. And why we need the guiding principles is to continue to direct both the work of the ad hoc committee. So myself and Dr. Gallagher, we have set goals, but those are just individual goals. And maybe, the more voices that we can have in our guiding principles and to help us develop these kind of the boundaries of where we should be playing in for the potential external partnership is extremely helpful. Then, of course, is to the second reason is to shape the forthcoming RFP process and then to delineate the framework for potential external partnerships, just meaning that what would the community like to see in a potential external partnership? What would it not like to see in an external partnership? And so on and so forth. And then the third reason is they're essential for the sustained long-term stability of both the healthcare district and the hospital. So ensuring that the principles that we're working through and keeping top of mind as we're going through the external partnership and the RFP process closely aligned with the strategic goals of the Baja Valley Healthcare District Board, that they address the community health needs and that they prioritize the financial stability and sustainability of Watsonville Community Hospital. So why ask for feedback? Very simple, for transparency, for inclusion, and for community trust. As I said, one very important part of very important moment that wasn't included in the timeline was the passing of Measure N. And so we had several people within this room that helped us move that measure and get that approved and to secure the stability of the hospital and to continue to put us on the right path. And so there's a lot of community input and there is a lot of community buy-in into the hospital and to the district. And so we don't want to throw that away. We want to make sure that we're working as a good partner with our staff and with the people who have helped us get to this point to continue to work in tandem with them to continue to build sustainability and with the district and the hospital. Also, the principals should consider the hopes and the needs of, definitely these 5 bullet points up here, but others as well too. So our hospital staff, of course, our community partners, so our non-government agencies and organizations, also the public sector allies, so our partners within the county, also our city partners at the city of Watsonville, but also the other partners throughout the county as well too, and even into the county of Monterey as well. And then our fellow healthcare providers within the region, if there are potential external partnerships there that can benefit both parties or benefit the healthcare delivery system throughout the region, that's something that the principal should reflect. And then also our labor partners. And so these 5 were at top of mind as we were thinking about the guiding principles, but also other folks as well too were part of the process. So here's our draft guiding principles, and there are 14 of them. So I decided to break them up into, I believe, 4 slides, so we can kind of go through them. I'll go through them as quickly or as slowly as we would like to, and these are all available within the board packet and will be available for public consumption after this meeting as well too, to discuss, to give feedback on for us to guide the work. So. The first one is, number 1 is only partnerships that support and maintain the integrity and independence of the district and Watsonville Community Hospital will be considered. Number 2, partnerships must prioritize clinical integration through physician recruitment and service line expansion, financial stability while achieving economies of scale where appropriate, and upgrades to supporting technology. Number 3, partnerships will not dissolve the district or hospital boards. And number 4, any affiliation needs to strengthen relationships within Watsonville Community Hospital and between Watsonville Community Hospital and the community. So before we move on to the next kind of little tranche or whatever we want to call it, little group of guiding principles, I wanted to pause here for the board to give any sort of feedback, or Dr. Gallagher, if you wanted to comment on any of these 4 as to why we thought these were important. And they weren't listed by priority. They're just like things that we decided, as we were kind of drafting these, as they kind of came top of mind. So I think it says a lot that the number 1 and number 2 and number 3 are all about partnerships that will maintain the integrity and independence of the district and the hospital. And then obviously to strengthen the relationships within the hospital and the community. But any feedback or any questions at all?
I don't have any comment at this point as we go along, though. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Question, maybe it's my brain processing.
Mhm.
Like, we have really strong values that are clear, beautiful, wonderful, right? Put people first, care about everybody, employees and patients and community members and all that fun stuff. Like, I'm I'm looking to like that to leap out as a guideline, maybe just because there are values, they live there. But like valuing that we prioritize retention of all of our staff and training and development of our staff, values that talk about quality of care, like. I know that's implicit, right, in everything we do. But we pull into some of that stuff with financial stability and some other things here. And I just feel like we're gonna pull in some of those core elements of our strategic goals that all of it should be reflected in the guidelines of patient care, retention, development of staff, things like that. I felt were comments, yeah.
Definitely.
And again, I don't know if that's like, I'm in the weeds or.
No, I think it's good feedback and, you're right. I think the values, as we were drafting the principles, as we were presented in the board packet, it has kind of a strategic overview of all of our vision, our mission, our values as well too, as kind of the like table setting for the guiding principles. So everything kind of operating under those under those values, all these principles operating under that. But to interweave that, I don't think it's a huge leap and something that we can make. And I think we mentioned a couple of those things in the later ones. So, but yeah, thank you for the feedback. Anything else before we move on to the next 4, I think? Okay, Rosa, please.
No, yeah, okay.
Number 5, the level of information which is made available to the public, allowing their input into the future direction of the district and hospital will not be reduced. Number 6, the district and Wattsville Community Hospital will maintain ownership of all real property assets throughout and after the term of the partnership agreement. Number 7, the district and hospital boards will maintain the autonomy/rights regarding the district and hospital CEO employment. Number 8, the district and hospital branding will remain unchanged throughout and after the term of any partnership agreement, although a branding strategy that would show an affiliated external partnership will be considered. Any call outs or anything like that before we move on here? And are there any questions? Yes.
Number 8, when hospital branding will remain unchanged, except, not, there could be some things that we have to be open minded to.
Right.
What that means. What about the naming? Have you guys talked about putting the committee, the Watson Community Hospital, such a powerful board name? I feel like it's a non-starter, so he asked us to change their name. I'm wondering, like, can we be that explicit in the guideline? Or
So that
again, maybe I'm weighing maybe I'm a little dirt.
No. This is good, because they should be explicit. So not become like McDonald's Hospital in Watson or something like that.
AT&T.
No, I
I mean,
kid,
if they
but-
write a big fat check, we can't say no to,
no,
maybe we can take out.
that was-
business ads.
I believe, Dr. Gallagher, I believe that was your guiding principle, I think.
There was a comment I made at
Right.
one point in the strategic plan that Watsonville Community Hospital has for over 100 years been our brand, and it is what people recognize, affiliate with, all those things. We shouldn't mess with it. Although I would remind people that at some point CHS thought, well, let's just change the name to, like Mid-Bay Hospital, and I
Right.
talked them out of it.
So that was, I believe, feedback from Dr. Gallagher was that, and to the point of, throughout the process of, what makes Watsonville Community Hospital, and the strategic process of that was people known as Watsonville, not even Watsonville Community, just Watsonville Hospital, right? It's the shorthand of that, it's Watsonville Community Hospital, and so it's been that, and we want to continue that, and that's extremely important, so yeah. But we can be, I think, more explicit in that. Okay, anything else?
I was just gonna say one thing about number 5. So I think, I feel like I need to see all 14 points before I make this comment, but as much as we can center the residents of the district and the patients, I think that they always need to be at the center. And in regard to number 5, I would flip it to say that the public will have access to be like a positive statement, right?
Instead of a-
Will have access to sufficient information in order to provide feedback instead of reducing, because it very well may be that the level where we are right now is not yet what we want to achieve. So I would flip it around.
It's good. It's a good call out.
Anything, go ahead.
If I could, I mean, my sort of peripheral comments are, thanks very much for this report. I think it accurately reflects what we did. I think it's honest, open, transparent, all the things I'm sort of hoping for. I'd like to make a comment about number 7. In the way the language is written in some of these, it is sort of conceptual and hard to get down to what's the nuts and bolt part of it. Number 7 envisions that the CEO remains employed by the hospital and the district, but potentially part of the rest of the admin team could be employed by a partner. I have sort of written an email about this to the committee. I don't think that's a workable solution to have the administrative team having to answer for 2 different bosses whose incentives are not necessarily aligned. This would be the polite way to say that. So I think it is in there. It is something we talked about. It's a sort of later thought for me to say, I think that's unlikely to be workable on a logistics standpoint.
Okay. Anything else before we move on to the? Okay, let's go on to the next
Public
one.
comment, if anyone has any.
Not,
Yeah.
yeah, at the end, yeah, please. Okay, this is the second to last one, so bear with us here. Number 9, any external partnership agreement will contain appropriate protections to ensure the continued success and defense of the district at the hospital at the end of any partnership term. Number 10, multiple partnerships may be explored and affected at one time. Number 11, partnerships must comply with all measure and bond covenants to maintain funding. And number 12, partnerships must comply with the existing legislation. An example, SB 418, and/or allow for amendments to existing agreements that contain covenants or other restrictive language. And so, any questions, comments on those 4 there? Before we move on to the last 2.
I do again.
9, sure.
Number 9.
No, number 9.
Number 9 was any external partnership agreement will contain appropriate protections to ensure the continued success and independence of the district and hospital at the end of any partnership term.
My comment again is sort of a nuts and bolts comment. That essentially means that with whatever potential partner, we negotiate the divorce at the beginning. It's sort of a prenup.
Right.
And then there's also, we've had talk about startup funding that's held in escrow so that we are not in the situation of having to start from scratch. My thought about that is can't imagine why we would want to go near a situation that would put us in this kind of jeopardy. That is not a comment I made during the board. It's a sort of later thought in my thought process. So input on number 9.
Okay. Any other comments before we go to the final 2? Okay. The final 2 that we have in our draft is partnerships must foster an environment of the growth and development of our clinical and non-clinical staff while honoring existing union contracts. And number 14, partnerships will reflect fair market value considering the relative contributions of the district and any partner. Comment on those 2? Questions on those 2? No? Okay, so I think there's 2 more slides. So the ad hoc committee next steps, we are going to share the guiding principles. So this is in the board packet for today's meeting. We're going to share the guiding principles with the public, and then also with our partners. We do plan to go out to community groups as well too, to present these guiding principles and any feedback that we've received. And then we're going to use the feedback to shape the guiding principles and then the overall comprehensive RFP, so the request for proposals throughout the month of June. And then we'll bring back the RFP for board consideration by the June 26, 2024 meeting next month. And if it is approved at that meeting, then we will release the RFP to potential interested external partners and to the general public. The ad hoc committee and the PVHCD board will review responses throughout July and August and then possibly consider any potential external partners thereafter. I think that's it.
That's ambitious.
All right.
Well, I would like to say, first of all, I want to thank the two members of the committee. That was really nice work and preparing the RFP is not going to be easy. But it's ambitious, but I really congratulate you on the work that you did. But the timeline is a little.
The timeline is ambitious. And that is with the idea of having some wiggle room there at the end of reviewing that, putting together the RFP process so that we can go out to potential external partners and continue to build on the success that we've had, both with the hospital and also with the district as well too. So
Nice work.
it's ambitious, but I think we like to be ambitious.
Yeah.
And we like to move quickly, but we also want to be transparent as well too. And get as much community feedback as we can on this before we move forward with the RFP.
Great.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Two general questions. One, Marcel, you're spot on, like, it makes me nervous thinking about that timeline, knowing some of the other things we've got live ongoing, they're big deals. But I trust the two of you and I trust staff, and I really echo your comments. So thank you, Dr. Gallagher. Thank you, Tony. This is a tremendous amount of work.
Yeah.
It's not easy work. This is a very delicate and challenging thing to put together, so I appreciate your time, and I know both of you put a lot of effort into it. I don't see the macro thumbs up as the 15th bullet, on there as a guideline. I had another comment, I was stalling, but,
Well, plenty of time. I mean, we'll go out to the public, we'll come back.
yeah, RFP, have you guys been able to find, or legal, or are there sample RFPs? I mean, there's not gonna be a like RFP.
Right.
Are there sample RFPs out there in this study that you found?
There are, although we're gonna be different, right? That's and so
But you have some working.
we do have a lot of work to do, and we have been looking at potential, at least something that worked from, like a baseline from that. And then ensuring that when we do when we do release the RFP and we put this all together, that we're encouraging innovation, right? Because more than anything, we want to remain an independent healthcare provider. Has full autonomy over everything that we do and all of the movements of the district and the hospital. That's the most important thing. So like I said, these were not, numbered by, in any sort of specific way, but I think it speaks volumes as to the number one being about the independence and the autonomy of the district and the hospital to continue to provide services to our community with a community person-centered focus throughout that process. So yeah. But yes, we do have something that we're working on to at least get us started in the right direction. Yeah.
I apologize, my brain cranks. I'll
Keep
keep
going.
going. The third one.
Is what we're here for.
There. There are so many details in developing, issuing, submitting, reviewing RFPs, summarizing it, bringing it home. There's so much work there, but from the rating criteria standpoint, I asked you guys to give some thought to how to have a criteria you'll use to be able to consistently, best as you can, consistently rate each of the proposals. Hopefully we get more than a couple that we can consider. So the rating criteria in the RFP will be important to be open-minded. Definitely come back to the board because, and I respect that staff may have ongoing continuous improvement in that rating criteria.
I think that's, ultimately, this will be the first time that we do this, but I would imagine that boards way, beyond our time would like to do this again, maybe in the future. But to have this be a baseline that people can work with and a living document, I think that's really important. Big part of the reason why the ad hoc committee was put in place, right, is to have these sort of conversations, think about this strategically about, what is the right sort of mix for us, and then also to learn from this entire process as well too. One thing I do want to put it, or just like add on to that thought, Marcus, is, one of the guiding principles is that we will have grading criteria so that the ad hoc committee can go through it and say, this is what we think about this certain proposal, and then we bring it to you and say, not necessarily a pass or fail, but like, does this pass the sniff test or whatever it might be? We might get one potential response to the RFP, I hope not. Or we might get 3 or 4. And the cool thing about this is that we can possibly enter into 3 or 4 agreements if they all pass the sniff test and we're like, okay, this could add, or this can be beneficial to the district and to the hospital according to the guiding principles. So, yeah. Anything else before we go on? Go ahead.
Tony, I want to thank you for the report. Again, I think it was really good. It's a big chunk of work. My comments about my participation in the process is sort of background information. When I was asked to participate, my alarm meter went into the red immediately. And then having been the only person in the room who lived and worked here through the 25-year disaster of corporate ownership, I did my very best to sort of supply information. And I feel like the process has steered away from the iceberg. And it is headed in a much better direction of recent, partly by this, to say, here we are, here's what we're thinking, here's it, and what I think are the potential outcomes. I think the idea of having partners with multiple health organizations that could bring patients, doctors, and technology would really benefit what it is that we do for this community and make the hospital much more sustainable. And I can say that my alarmometer has gone down into the yellow. It is not in the green.
No.
And I will continue to leave it in the yellow or adjust it as needed. With 25 years of information of how any of this can go wrong. We saw tons of it, and then there are other examples, sort of, what is that phrase? Cautionary tale of other hospitals that have done such things, and it has gone wrong. So that's sort of what to say where I am with it. I have both enjoyed the opportunity to try to remember and translate in non-inflammatory language, and do my best to see that this goes somewhere that I'm content, that this is a good thing for us. So that's what I would like to say.
Thank you for your comments. I think I want you to stay right in that yellow throughout the
Yeah.
entire process.
I think that's my job.
I never want you to go into the green. It's good for us to be skeptical as we get these as well too, as if we do get any responses to this when we do eventually get the RFPs. So Rosie, I think that's it? Yeah. Any raised hands for public comment on this item?
Yes, I do have one online.
Okay.
Nancy, or anyone who speaks.
Hi, I'm just watching from afar and I'm thinking, we passed Measure N. And are we saying that there's not enough money from Measure N, that now we have to go find partnerships and new corporations are going to come into our hospital? Is that what we're talking about? And I'm very green here, but that's what I'm getting from this. But maybe I'm totally wrong. And you don't have to answer, but that's what I was thinking is we don't have enough money. Just a comment.
Thank you, Nancy. Any other raised hands online? Sorry. Right.
No online.
Okay. Anyone in the public, if you could, please line up so you could get a sense of how many people like to speak, and you all have 2 minutes.
Funny the traffic gallagher should talk about its meter going to red to yellow, because I downloaded the packet, which was astounding for this meeting, and I didn't have the opportunity to study the whole thing. But the first thing that came into my mind is I nearly became apoplectic. I thought, oh my God, here we go again. And like Joe, I've been around for quite a few years. And our history and experience with partners and owners has been less than dismal. It's been disastrous. what I heard today is kind of encouraging. But I think you talk about, and we've heard it many times about being transparent and transparency and involving the community and all that. But I think we're right on the border of people thinking, at least I'm thinking, that we might be getting to that point, if you can't dazzle with brilliance, baffle them with BS. Because I was looking at that thing, now like I said, I didn't get to study it. And there was one part here, I wrote down, who the hell writes this stuff? It's like, I think it was number 14 in that long list of things. Partnerships will reflect the fair market value considering the relative contributions of the district and any partner. What does that mean? And you're gonna distribute this to the community and say that they understand it. I mean, we learned from Measure M when we first started with that people didn't even know what a bond measure was or what a bond. You know, and now we're expecting them to come up with this massive document. I don't understand why we have a competent board. We have an excellent CEO who's supported by a very knowledgeable management team.
If you could, Butch, to wrap up your comments, your 2 minutes.
Okay. So, you know, I'm very reluctant to see the hospital enter into partnerships, period.
Okay.
And I'll have to go a long way to convince me it's okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Hi there, my name is Louise Pierce and I've been here at Watsonville Hospital for about 18 years. I've worked in the CCU and I've been participating in all sorts of activities to support the hospital in the community, walking, knocking on doors, leafleting for years and years. I really like that transparency is part of your process and I would like to be transparent about my concerns. I'm especially concerned about outsourcing management of the hospital. And that you keep in mind that Watsonville is a town that supports its workers, from field workers to teachers to nurses and to our hospital lab staff who are here asking for a fair contract today. Your guiding principles to strengthen relationships within the hospital requires management who want to work with union members and who value collective bargaining. My concern is in outsourcing management, you'll bring people who aren't looking out for the continuation of the community hospital, but for their own contracts and profits. Please consider that many of the staff here have lost count of administrators and managers and directors that we've seen come and go. We want people who will stay. We want people who support a strong and skilled workforce. And I want people who live in the area, people who care for the hospital like I do. I'm concerned outsourcing management especially will lead to waste and conflict and more fly-by-night folks who aren't committed to our community in the least. But thank you.
Thank you. So my name is Roseanne Ferris. I'm a critical care nurse in Watsonville, and I've been here 28 years. I'm also the chief nurse rep for our nursing union. When I heard about this idea, my stomach dropped. I know that there's all of these members here today, you know, and community members, employees, and I'm just grateful that you guys did bring this out and are transparent about it and want to hear feedback for what we have to say. And I think the reason why I wanted to say that is because what Dr. Gallagher was saying, we've lived through this for the last 30 decades. Three decades, right? 30 years, 40 years, all of this stuff that we saw what it was and then what it became. We saw the erosion, we saw the outside management, we lived that with Prospect. We saw, you know, the erosion of healthcare services under corporate structure over decades. I love the idea that you guys are trying to maintain what you guys have here today and build on it. But I think that if you want true transparency and true community feedback, that you would allow for more than a couple of minutes of comment in such a short timeline. I think that in order to ask the right questions, we have to have the right information. And we have very little information as to where this is going or what this looks like. I think, as we said, we would like to continue with a local board. We've had a board in Tennessee with a board here that I'm gonna say was a puppet board. No, I don't want to be rude about it, but they didn't have a lot of control over what could be managed here. We don't want that ever again. We want local management, and I know I'm over my 2 minutes, but I'm gonna continue to talk.
If you
we
could
wanna
wrap up your
see-
comments, Rosa.
Yes,
Yeah,
we want to
please.
see that you guys continue to do good work. We want to see local management that is vested in our community. We just met Phyllis. It's great that she's local. She's going to be vested in our community. You know, each time we
Then
have.
you have to
turnover-
wrap up your comments. I'm trying to be
Yeah.
respectful to everyone
Each
else.
time we have this turnover though, we don't make any progress. You know, you have a manager
Thank you.
here for a couple.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Lawrence Foray. I'm a pain physician and anesthesiologist at the University of California, San Francisco. I have worked here for at least 15 years under more than 10 CEOs here at Watsonville Hospital. I understand everything that you have to say about this. I now work as a professor at the University of California, San Francisco, along with my partner, Dr. Wolbers. We have cared for the population here in the Watsonville area for more than 22 years. And now we're caring for them via more of a remote status, meaning that we are centered at UCSF, but we live here in Watsonville. We serve the community here in Watsonville. And so what I'd like to offer is to try to explore with the ad hoc committee how a better partnership might be made with the University of California, San Francisco. The University of California, San Francisco, at least in the division of pain medicine where I am, we have a radius of over 100 miles from San Francisco of areas that we treat and provide services. Some of those services include free psychological care in groups, free training for providers and for advanced health practitioners, medication management, and a whole wide variety of services from pain management, including pediatrics, neurology, PMNR, 2 family practice members in our group. So we see this as an opportunity to give back to our community because we live here, we served here for 22 years, and we'd like to have an opportunity to work with the committee to see how the committee can identify an appropriate partnership, not one that takes control away from the community, but one that partners with the University of California. Just like the health district, the mission for the University of California, San Francisco, or all the UCs, is to provide healthcare to the citizens of the state of California. That's our mandate. And our mandate includes incorporating and treating all citizens regardless of their insurance type. So just want to sort of offer the opportunity to look at other avenues of partnership, which may not necessarily be the type of partnership that you and I all experience.
Lawrence, thank you. Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Before you start, is there anyone else in the public that wants to speak about this item? Okay.
My name is Kit Taylor. I'm a longtime former employee of this hospital. You know, this community, your patient base, the staff of this hospital still have very fresh wounds from everything they've gone through the past 3 decades. And I'm gonna make this short and sweet. I think that asking them, especially your patient base, to trust something like this, when they're just beginning to get the confidence back in the hospital, and everything I've taught tonight, is a bit too far. I don't think it's the right time. I think that more time needs to be spent educating the community about this, and building their trust back in the hospital. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Gotta take this down. You know, I don't usually speak.
Can
at
you
hospital.
introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Teresa Mack. I am the labor representative for the California Nurses Association. I'm also a resident of nearby Monterey County, Salinas, my hospital is Salinas Valley. Not that I wouldn't trust any of my fantastic nurses here. So I usually don't speak at these functions because I'm filming the nurses. But I'm going to speak tonight. California Nurse Association has a lot of experience with partnerships. A lot. We've seen them fail and destroy public healthcare systems. A lot. And that is a fact. So it definitely rang my worry bell when I heard, and it's not in the yellow, and I don't think it will be. Unless, I see some real assurances, and I didn't see that. Although it's a thoughtful, put together presentation, and I appreciate it, Marcus, Tony and Dr. Gallagher. I certainly appreciate it. But there are bells that are red, right, and bringing in my experiences, just my own personally with CNA. So I would caution. First of all, there were some duplicitous statements, and we're gonna keep the name, but we're not. Rebranding, trade name changes, Salinas Valley just did it. It cost tens of millions of public dollars. And it was a stupid thing to do. I see the community. I am the community there. I'm a patient there. Changing the name from Memorial really upset the community, the patients. Those kinds of things are not great. And I think, like the nurses said, like, our other physician said, please be cautious. I hear what you're saying. Please be cautious and be transparent. Thank you, board.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Lisa Bell. I work in hospital administration exclusively at the hospital for over 20 years. And I have not lost count of how many administrators have come in. I want to tell you that I see if you're drafting these guiding principles, you must be tasked with making some tremendously hard decisions. And I thank you for taking this on with such care and respect for all of us who work here and all of us in this community. I don't think that you're being compensated for this, and a tremendous amount of work went into all of those items, including number 14. And I think that it's our great fortune to have a board leading us with the strength of character and the transparency that you all are attempting to manifest right now. Thank you for doing this with us.
Thank you. Is there anybody else, before I close up the public comment? No? Okay, I'll close, Rosie, anyone online? No? Okay, so I'll close the public comment and bring it back to the board for any, I know it's just a receive and file, well, just taking all this, all the feedback, but I do want to give an update, just, so, we are planning to, share this, directly with our partners, so like I said, all the partners that were listed on there as well too, and then to possibly do some presentations for some community groups for additional feedback as well too for this, to get some more feedback. So that throughout the month of June, and if we have to, going into the month of July, to continue to get more feedback and shape this and have a RFP that maybe not everyone will be entirely thrilled with or, pleased with, but that we feel comfortable with putting that ourselves back out there with the understanding that, the transparency and that that our independence as a hospital and as a healthcare provider and as a district are at the forefront of this. So any other comments or questions about the process?
No, I will comment, just thank everybody who stayed through today.
Yes, thank you, seriously.
The comments were hit home to me and they resonated with me incredibly well. Every single one of you is very powerful and fully in agreement with everybody's concerns. I mean, I think, I suspect Joe's actually in a red zone, but he's being open-minded that he'll stay in the yellow space. And I think we all have to be very skeptical of anything that comes in front of us. It's got to be a heck of a balance. We have full control, autonomy, and it looks great. Everybody's on board for me to think about entering into any type of relationship, small or big, with another partner. It's just got to be the right fit right now. We've got to be really thoughtful about what we're doing. So I'm grateful for all the comments, I'm grateful for the engagement, I'm grateful for all the continued support and the candor and not just the candor, but like where it's coming from, right? I mean, it's coming from a passion for this community, a passion for this hospital, a passion for your coworkers, your friends, your colleagues, your family. And that's what I really am grateful for where that's all coming from. So thank you.
Yeah, we talked a lot about, scar tissue, right, Joe, about the community leaders.
I think that was Steve's comment, scars.
Yeah, scars.
I like fresh wounds, that's a better description.
Yeah, probably better. And that's at the top of mind as we're doing this is we understand the last 20 years and Joe, much better than I, have been really difficult for the community. And I think as we, went through the last 2 years, it's something that's been very apparent is, you know, we're a nonprofit now, we're publicly owned, we're, the 5 of us are elected. And so, though that sort of control and oversight from the community to their healthcare provider to, for some of you out there, to your employer, you know, it's something you can't find elsewhere, right? It's something that we can't sell, right? Something that we should never give up, right? And so that's, you know, as we're going through this, I think one of the reasons why, Joe has gone from a red to a yellow, I hope, is that we've had those discussions about how do we do this correctly? How do we make sure we're, not just him and I and this board, but for boards decades from now, or I hope, you know, when my son's an adult and has his kids and everything like that, when there is no, chance that, this hospital will ever be sold ever again, that this hospital will continue to be a community-owned asset. So it's a very difficult dance to do, but we got our dancing shoes on and we're trying our best right now. So just appreciate all of your feedback and the guiding principles in full. We'll make sure that try to get everyone in here. That's why I was asking for your guys' names so I could get it all to you. Any additional feedback that we can have as we're going throughout the month of June would be fantastic. And we can continue to draft this and to work on the process because I think we'll probably meet at least 2-3 more times before we come back for the RFP, if not more. Anything?
One last question.
I can say after, maybe I can answer that, but just for the process. And Mary, I'm sorry, I see your hand raised, but we've already closed the public comment, so apologies. But anything else before? I'll just,
Yeah, I mean, as I was reading the packet, the wicked words like over my dead body, jump right to the front, right? And I don't want to run there because my day job in local government and my volunteer job in nonprofits for a long time, partnerships are beautiful in those spaces. I mean, there's the greatest example that nobody knows about is Central Coast Community Energy, 3CE. If you live in Salinas or Watsonville or Santa Cruz County, Monterey County, you're actually buying your power through 3CE, which is a collaboration of what started 3 counties and is really Santa Cruz County, pulled Monterey County in, pulled San Benito County into a 3-party partnership to buy back electricity and bring it locally controlled. So now you're getting energy cheaper than PG&E, and you're more eligible for huge rebates on a lot of great things. So those are the examples of partnerships that I've seen and in the nonprofits all over the place. I mean, that's my mindset that I'm looking at this, that I can see a lot of possibilities, but I'm very skeptical when things step outside of those boxes. Not to say no, I'm just that over my dead body is still very prominent. But I have a lot of experience with forming and being a part of partnerships that are really incredible and do amazing things and maintain transparency and public trust. So,
yeah. And to that, if I can just address the transparency of that, and that's like, we literally cannot do this process without being transparent. So like negotiations, discussions, all that sort of stuff, the RFP, all of the RFPs that are, all of the people who answer the RFP, all of these are going to be public documents. We have to do all of this within the public purview. And so this is part of that transparency is we can even hide what we're doing if we wanted to in order to, you know, to meet our requirements as a healthcare district. So, that's really important and, I don't like having that as the bar and just saying like, we're just gonna meet, you know, what is required of us. We want to be more transparent than that. So we could have just brought forward an RFP and said, hey, here it is. We're gonna vote on it today. But I wanted to bring these guiding principles, get feedback, and then go forward and then get more feedback as we draft the RFP. Because I knew this was, like Joe said, a lot of fresh moves for the last 20 years. So it's important. Anything else before, I guess we adjourn the meeting? There's nothing else. Great. Okay.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.